Hi, it's Joy, and today I'm going to watch The Clone Wars Season 5, Episode 15, Shades of Reason, and things are not looking good for Mandalore. I am stressed, but I'm also really excited to watch this episode. A reminder that you can find the unedited version of this reaction on my Patreon, along with all my reactions. You get those 2 weeks in advance, the edited version 1 week in advance, and let's go.
My army of crime lords do attack different targets across Sandari,
And then the Death Watch will protect them.
The Duchess's rule.
Need those Sith and their thugs to cause some pain and show the Mandalorian people how weak Satine really is. After this is done, no one will doubt why we're in power.
God, Satine just needs to have a protection force.
Then we execute Maul and those thugs. Those criminals will scatter and Mandalore will be ours.
It's not gonna go like that.
I believe this spice shipment is infested.
Oh, I mean, it's definitely infested, but not in the way you might hope.
Guards are helpless against their numbers, and the people are
We need more guards. Oh.
Stand down. You're now all slaves of the Black Sun clan.
Oh Lord. I mean, they can't be all slaves if you kill them.
Guard, now.
So they do have a standing army. They need more of one, I guess. Enough to accurately protect the whole planet. Or at least their cities. Send a message that they're a Sith here. Radio in that they're a Sith, and then we can contact the Jedi and say they're a Sith.
Brought on by the lowest element.
The Duchess Satine has led us to ruin.
Oof.
Death Watch.
This is so obviously staged, but that's people. I mean, if anything, the last few years have shown us is that people are easily manipulated by dumb rhetoric from oppressive right-wing people. I mean, like the Death Watch.
Death Watch is here to save you from these intergalactic gangsters that
Well, that's very convenient, isn't it? There would be resistance.
Do not listen to him. His war will cause the end of Mandalore as we know
It will.
we are under attack. There is no time for this.
How many of you people are willing to personally join the Guard and like join an army? Because if you've always been willing to join the Guard, why the fuck haven't you? Oh dear. Well, it does seem like these people are bringing about their own demise. Mandalore may well be wiped out in a totally separate event, but this is certainly going to be part of the catalyst for it.
Listen, it sounds like there is fighting going on out there.
Rescued.
Here to rescue you.
You have my thanks, soldier.
No. Thank Pre Vizsla.
Jesus Christ. Interesting how the Death Watch is using non-lethal force all of a sudden, isn't it? You people are so easily manipulated, but then fear is a brilliant tool to use, to wield, to manipulate the minds. Jesus Christ! Distracted the guards. Just in time for them to watch the end of the show. As though he could defeat
It
him.
will not trouble the people.
Play acting. This is how people like Trump and Hitler come to power.
Your weak-minded rule of Mandalore is at an end. The resurrection.
You know, the only problems on this planet have been caused by you. She's staying true to her principles to the end, and I respect that. It's painful to think, like, how easy this was, but also it would be fairly easy when you can use fear. And there probably are pockets of people within the civilization who are already leaning towards the Death Watch's ideologies. Just like now, there will be a decent number of people who are against this.
I am the Duchess.
And faith has been the greatest disappointment.
Only when it is broken. What you did for the people as Prime Minister betrayed their trust.
Yeah.
Betrayed mine. Destitution.
He created the seeds for this moment. He weakened their...
Your leadership. The supplies.
An army and the means to expand to other neutral systems.
It wasn't an oversight. It was intentional. I don't have an interest in the other systems. Your vision no longer matters.
Ooh. I mean, you're not going to be able to defeat him this simply.
The last of the parasites infecting
The violence is over, but now our culture is going to be dominated by violence.
her duty to protect
This is nothing like the virtues Jin has in The Mandalorian. I mean,
Has captured the support.
they would not have put them in the same cell where they could plot.
However, he has not.
The code of the sort of group of Mandalorians we first met in The Mandalorian wasn't like sunshine and rainbows, and you know, our Mando was kind of an exception a little bit in how much he cared about other people, but I think that was partly a defense mechanism. You know, they went to his planet, they took in foundlings. It was very much like there was honor, real honor within the Mandalorian, his Mandalorian code, which I understand now is like a super crazy sect. I thought all Mandalorians initially wore helmets all the time, but no. This Death Watch has zero honor. They manipulate, lie, use people. So like I said, I know his new watch or whatever it's called wasn't like, woo, great organization. but like they were better, and that's how he was able to keep his personal morals.
There's no one left now but Almec and I, but he's as corrupt and vile as you.
Satine, that's exactly what they want.
Thank you.
You should have said he's here for being too honourable and too pacifistic. That was a dumb, bold Mandalorian. And I do say was.
I thought you were in league with Pre-Vizsla.
Huh. Yeah. Clearly not anymore.
We were. Soldier, he is bound by honor. I will challenge him to single combat in front of his men. He will not deny me.
He does seem like that kind of idiot.
Defeat him.
Strongest shall rule Mandalore.
You'd be an idiot to accept. Because you could argue that that type of honor duel, you're not a Mandalorian, so it doesn't count. You are stupid. Though it would be hilarious if you did manage to defeat him and Maul's plan was just like defeated by this one arrogant fascist. I mean, okay, I don't actually know that he's a fascist, but I feel like that's the closest comparison I can make. You just force choke him. He's using all his fancy tricks. I hate that this is happening in like Satine's, and they're gonna destroy her stained glass, I guess, that like with that watching over like in her, the Temple of Peace in a sense, you know, a place where she tried to give Mandalore a future that would be sustainable and bright for their children. He's gonna get the Darksaber, isn't he? Because he's defeated him in single combat. And then his men saw him fleeing because, you know, understandably he didn't want to die.
only the strongest shall rule.
You are a stupid man. Ruling is not about strength alone.
If you will not join me, you will all die.
So this is how she breaks her way from the slot.
For you.
See, you've made Mandalore so much better. Congratulations, Death Watch. And like these other Death Watch soldiers are so willing to instantly fight against their own companions because they're stupid, mindless thugs. Yeah, there's been a peaceful transition of power. Don't fear. Isn't this better? Isn't this better than when you had a peaceful government? Yeah.
Who could not protect you when your lives were at stake?
I hate this.
Pre-Vizsla, the true hero of Mandalore.
This is how
Satine is
the sort of right-wing governments operate at the moment. Fake news. I mean, none of them in the like Trump or Johnson or whatever have used quite this level of lies, but you know, they just make up whatever the fuck they want and get away with it. I hate this.
we were always
Does every single person down there want to personally become a warrior? Because if I was on Mandalore, I'd be like, well, I'm actually cool with not being a warrior, thanks. I don't think I was built that way. How? I mean, I get that. I think if this guy had said no, they probably would have just killed him. But how much, the lengths people are willing to go to for power, whereas Satine is someone that had honor and wasn't willing to sacrifice it for the sake of her ideals. And, you know, maybe past events should have shown her that she should have built up more of an army than just the Guard, because the Guard had been kind of useless in the past. But ugh. this was a very stressful episode. I mean, things are not looking good for Mandalore. They are definitely signing their own death warrant at the moment. Whether it happens in this arc or whether it is something that happens down the line, it is something that they have been building towards ever since there's been this unrest. And you know, before the death, if it wasn't for Pre Vizsla and the Death Watch guys, then there never would have been the initial unrest, because they were the ones creating it to try and be like, look, we're bombing things, therefore you must have an army, which made no sense. Then you had the stupid Prime Minister guy who I can understand vaguely what his point was at the time, but being like totally okay with people dying. It's the same people that are like, oh, you know, only 6 of the COVID deaths in children were children with pre-existing conditions, as in ever only 6 is a decent number, or B, pre-existing conditions means it's okay that you die. People having asthma or or just any children dying is never acceptable. Anyone dying is never acceptable. I just think the goals that Sabine had were so noble, and it is exactly the kind of future I wish this world could have. You know, I wish there was no need for army and no need for weapons of any kind. But I think you can't kind of go from point A, everyone has big armies and big tough warrior, wow, to where she was at point B. You have to take some diversions along the way. You know, you need to keep up a strong military force, but you do not use it for aggression. You literally only use it to defend your home. And like at the most, if a close ally is literally being attacked, go and save them, that kind of thing. You have to kind of get there in stages. And also, being a pacifist in that way doesn't work when the rest of the world or galaxy around you is very militarized, because you're just vulnerable and vulnerable and vulnerable. So I think, obviously they had the guard, but they needed much more of a guard. They needed an army that was purely defensive army. And I hate to see the way it's coming crashing down around her. And, you know, I think there is an argument to be had that some ideals like that are too naive, and people often throw that at like left-wing ideals, but I think a version of them is attainable if you find it, if you go for the middle. You know, we're never going to have progress if you just go, oh, that's so naive, we can't get there. Then we're just going to get stuck in the misery we're in. So her goals were noble. I think she jumped too quickly, and you know, she sort of, by just we're a neutral nation isn't going to be enough necessarily, because at the end of the day, if the separatists wanted something from Mandalore, they would have come. So it's really sad to kind of see this noble regime fall. And I am very interested about what the individual people in that square, are they going to turn around when, you know, conscription starts and they're all sent off to Mandalorian warrior training, being like, wait, what? No, not me. No, we need to be warriors, but I don't want to be a warrior. Like, it's every single person in that square, Mandalore, wanting to be a warrior, because that, I mean, maybe the non-warriors were at home, like, God, the idiots were in the square again. It's interesting. But then you look at the QAnon conspiracies, you look at Trump having supporters, you look at people still supporting Boris Johnson on the Conservative Party, and you can see how this kind of event does happen, unfortunately. I'm worried for Obi-Wan. I mean, I'm not worried in the sense that obviously he survives this, but I am worried about he might lose Sabine and what that will do to him, and Satine, sorry, not Sabine. And in general, I'm just stressed about Mandalore, because there are good people there are children, there are people that deserve the freedom that they once had. And it's all going terribly wrong. Pre Vizsla was so stupid, and that's what I think extremist groups are similarly. They're just, it's like, I'm a man of honour, but I'm going to work with these criminals, and then I'm going to betray them, but I'm a man of honour. And you know, any situation where someone is like, oh, if that guy doesn't accept a duel, then it's no honour. I mean, were they, like, the Death Watch were like medieval idiots, you know? I can kind of understand it, but all he had to do, and again, Maul would have just attacked, but all he had to do was say that, oh, the concept of dueling is for one Mandalorian to another. You aren't a Mandalorian, therefore it doesn't count. I am not obligated to duel with you. If anyone here would like to be, you know, stand in your stead, I will duel them, you know, something like that. Again, maybe some of his men, the more extreme ones, would have been like, okay, yeah, you're a coward. But most of them wouldn't have been. They'd have been like, yeah, we don't want you to rule us. And the fact that so many of the Death Watch were like, yeah, that random man, he beat us, so therefore we'll serve him now, is so what people do in cults, also what people do with people like Trump. and Hitler, and it's scarily, there are so many real world comparisons, and I'm just very stressed. So this was a really good episode. A reminder that you can find the unedited version of this reaction on my page when you get that 2 weeks in advance, the edited version 1 week in advance, and thank you for watching.